Agatha all along is awfully terrible, but that's not the only terrible it might be. Today, folks, we're taking a look at the Marvel casting director for all of Marvel Studios, who had some very interesting things to say, and we're examining, is Disney treating their child actors correctly with Agatha and beyond? Hello folks, and here's to hoping for a wondrous weekend coming up for you. If you're watching this video at the time of release, it is Friday afternoon, and that means so many of you out there are getting ready to celebrate and partay, and we are happy to be a part of that. We also want to welcome Lou Wasserman's Ghost. LW, how are you, sir?
Always up for a party.
That is true, and since you and I have had some gatherings together, I can say
yes,
you are quite...
I'm reliably informed that the people in your neighborhood are even now getting the aroma from another of your smoky wonders. So
that's right. That's right. Hey. The barbecue is being prepared as we speak right here at Somewhere Sunny, USA. The studio is aromatic and wonderful. Yes. Something else that is fragrant, Lou.
Yes.
is the stink that is coming out of Marvel Studios. Folks, we're going to be talking today about some stuff, some really, really weird stuff going on with Agatha. And as we do, click the like button. We're going to have to transverse this with care, given the platform that we're on and given the subject matter. But folks, we endeavor to do it anyway. This is Sarah Hallie Finn, and she's the casting director for all of Marvel Studios, Lou. And so one of the things one might wonder with her and what she's about to say is, how can Marvel turn the corner and get back into being for mainstream, normal audiences if this woman is in charge of casting? Here's what she says. She says to Variety that she wanted someone queer to play the role of a queer person. The weird thing about this, Lou, is it's a really young person who she cast. I want to play the clip. And then you and I are going to talk about professionally inside Hollywood, because you have the background to know these sorts of things. What is appropriate? What's inappropriate? And did this cross the line? Here's the clip.
Let's talk about Joe Locke, because you wanted someone queer to play that role, from what I understand. So tell me about, one, the search for that. Obviously, there's more openly queer actors now than ever, but still not a ton.
Yeah. Well, we did want to cast that role authentically. And let's also be honest, this is a character who is a teenager. So this is not a question that we're going to ask teenagers to come out and have to answer. It was just more about, here's the character. We're looking to cast it authentically. Please submit an audition, and we're going to take it from there. Joe did an incredible audition.
Tell me about his audition.
And I think what's so wonderful about Joe, and I can't give away anything about the character, but he is so warm. He is so thoughtful as an actor and kind and sensitive and funny. But the character might have a dark side. Am I allowed to say that?
I think you can, because I've seen the first episode. It was dark.
Okay. So there are some other layers that we're going to get to peel away and find out. And I think that he's going to get to play a different kind of character than we've seen him play before. And that.
Let me play the part that was really concerning to me, Lou, one more time, just so the audience doesn't miss it. And I want you all to notice, well, or at least decide for yourselves, do you think that she realizes she said an oopsie and makes a correction? Let's just see.
Let's talk about Joe Locke, because you wanted someone queer to play that role, from what I understand.
So she admits she wanted someone of a particular bedroom persuasion to play a role.
So tell me about, one, the search for that. Obviously, there's more openly queer actors now than ever, but still not a ton.
So he's asking about publicly stated bedroom preferences, romantic preferences, and he's asking about a role, Lou, that is for a teenager. Here's her response once she, I think, realizes she might have said something that's caught her in a spot. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, we did want to cast that role authentically. And let's also be honest, this is a character who is a teenager. So this is not a question that we're going to ask teenagers to come out and have to answer. It was just more about, here's the character. We're looking to cast it authentically.
All right, Lou, this is where it gets tricky. So let me just, for the audience, real quick, and I know I've run long and I want to get your take.
That's okay.
But real fast, the actor in question who plays a character whose literal name, right, because the name is hidden for now, we know who it is, but we're not going to tell you. We don't want to spoil the show for the very few of you watching. But for now, the character is listed as Teen, T-E-E-N, Teen. And, by the way, this actor is 20 years old currently, Lou. But we suspect, we don't know definitively, but we suspect that when casting was occurring, based on schedules we've looked at, this was likely a person who was a minor. So your thoughts on this, Lou? Where is she appropriate, inappropriate? What are the boundaries? What are the guidelines when you're working in Hollywood as you have?
First of all, obviously, we've discovered a new official code word, authentically casting.
Yes.
I'm sorry all the casting in the history of Hollywood was so inauthentic in the past, but at least we've come up with a word, which is important because it's a very neutral and disavowable word if somebody ever called them on it. Because what about all of the, I guess by these definitions, inauthentic actors who may have auditioned for this part? Were they instantly rejected because they weren't authentic? And do they have a case for discrimination? But,
okay, so talk to us about that briefly, though. I don't want to let that go. That's really important.
Well,
can you file for discrimination in that case, or do they just say, "Well, we are an entertainment company heavily protected by freedom of speech"?
What if you're I don't know. What if you're a member of a very straight casting Association of America, something? Suddenly, you're getting into Gina Carano territory, aren't you?
Well, it's really weird to me, the idea, Lou, that they wanted to cast authentically. And what that means is they wanted to cast only people who share a very specific bedroom preference.
It also
they're talking about a kid. They're talking about a kid, Lou.
Yeah, but they're also saying that people of great talent and ability who are not actually gay can't play the part as well.
And they're talking about kids. So I don't know how they would even authentically, quote unquote, cast it. Like, how would you know? How would you get into the mind of a child? This is weird. What's wrong with this woman?
Well, and technically, if it's a legal minor, a parent or guardian would have to sign off on it.
Right.
And have control over it. There's this other scene in this show that I just watched the first episode in 5 minutes before I gave up.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But,
I'm so
sorry.
There's
this scene where
you didn't have to suffer. You weren't on the live reaction. You didn't have to put yourself through that.
No, and I wasn't even going to watch it. But then Lorena had it streaming live, and I thought, well, I'll be curious. That'll teach me what curiosity did to us cool cats.
That's right.
But there's this scene where Agatha is walking around the local neighborhood, Starkers. And this family comes out their front door in their pretty little picturesque house. There it is. And the teenage girl, I assume, they don't want her to see the naked lady.
Right. And it's not certain she's a teenager. She could be prepubescent. I mean.
Well, and yes. And what's interesting about that to me is this.
And she's smiling, Lou. That's what's weird.
That's exactly what I'm going to mention. This is not the first time in the history of movies and especially TV series. Lots of comedy series going back to the 50s and 60s would have an accidental drop of a bathing towel or an accidental
and
drop
butts
of...
can be funny.
Right, but you'd never literally see them as you do later in this scene. But the point is, always in the history, I bet some person with nothing better to do than do a statistical study leading up to something about Agatha. Never is it a girl looking at a girl. It has always been the cute little boy who kind of smiles like, oh, wow, look at that. When Julie Newmar drops her towel or Baywatch walks by or something. So it's always been, first of all, hetero. There she goes. And now it isn't. And
by the way, we want to thank Gary of Nerdrotic for censoring this for us. Saved us some time. Thanks, Gary. Go ahead, Lou.
Well, everybody out there who thought it was going to be interesting should thank him too, because frankly, as I said in our back channels, as a lifelong expert on the feminine form, this is not the greatest naked person in the world. But anyway, did they hire her because she had authentic naked skin? Well,
the weird thing too, Lou, is
but I mean, the thing is, I don't remember ever having a little girl, a minor child of the female persuasion, look at a naked woman with such amazement and kind of glee.
right. And the woman is, and there's a little bit of trick here on the framing, but the woman is completely naked. So while the audience only sees her backside, the little girl would be seeing the entirety of the woman.
And for those who haven't seen it,
weird for a Disney show. Yeah.
It's the Lady Godiva treatment. They've got her hair down in front of her breasts and like that. So imagine that if you're desperate for entertainment. And if you're watching that show, you're desperate for entertainment, believe me.
You'll get none of that.
Well, and the funny thing about the show, just as an aside, my astoundedness about it has nothing to do with all the touted lesbianism and the touted sexuality. It's that it's just so boring and bad and pointless. And I don't know if
it's like a pointless fever dream.
I said at the very beginning, when they're in that dark town with the dark woods, I was expecting to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs cottage in the background. It was that same brown, muddy, ugly color palette. This scene, in fact, is the only one that's really bright in that whole first section. But anyway,
let me ask you this, Lou. Okay,
so
the little
kids in Hollywood.
Okay, that's what. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, the most famous from a legal and a procedural.
I bet you're going to talk about Romeo and Juliet.
Well, no, I was going to talk about Jackie Coogan, who we all know as Uncle Fester. And when you think of Uncle Fester and you see what we've talked about so far, I hope you're not imagining him naked. But what the story is he was a huge, huge movie star in the silent era. He made a famous movie called The Kid with Charlie Chaplin, and his parents stole all the money. He was making, in those days, in the 1920s, the equivalent of millions of dollars because of what we now know as merch sales. Because he'd make a movie, all the kids would see it, and they'd make dolls of him and his dog and whoever. And the parents stole it to the point where it was such a scandal that they passed a thing called the Coogan Law to protect the assets of child actors. Because, of course, kids didn't have bank accounts. Kids didn't have Social Security cards. Kids didn't have any of that stuff. So all of their business dealings as actors went through their parents. And because of that, although it's good that they protected future kids from that situation, the trend over the years has always been that Hollywood gets permission from the parents, because that way they don't have the liability. It's like, oh, you didn't want them to do that? Well, the parents knew. And there are, of course, all kinds of rules. I don't know about this particular girl here, and it's a pretty short scene, so probably not. But on almost every TV series with young children, they find twins. And the reason they do that is kids are prohibited by law from working more than a certain number of hours, and they have to take breaks more often. And so if they can have the two twins dressed in the same outfit, and when one of them's alarm clock goes off, pull that one, pull in the next one, they can keep shooting that day. So there's all kinds of rules about that. But as far as rules about what they can see or even be a part of, it comes down to the parents, which, if the parents were all responsible adults and good parents and worried about their child's future psychological whatever, we wouldn't have any kids in movies, because they make them do all kinds of things that I would think good parents would have an objection to. But anyway.
So then my question, Lou, is there some sort of person whose job it is in a film or television production to ensure that a kid is not on stage or not in the not in the scene at the same time that there's a naked woman? Like, there's a way to shoot this where that doesn't happen. There's, a little bit of camera trickery going on. But is there someone there who choreographs that to make sure, hey, we really don't want the kid to be around that?
If somebody cares about that kid, yeah, their parents are guardians. And when I say parents who are guardians, I don't mean only kids who are orphans. the parents work, sometimes Aunt so-and-so goes along with the kid to the set that day. My mother, actually, who had a theatrical career, but she had a male teenage cousin who played one of the characters in one of Orson Welles' Shakespeare movies. So my mother, being a young actress of age, would go with him to be his chaperone for the day, and loved it because she got to watch Orson Welles direct a movie, But would you trust your kid with this lady?
That's what I wouldn't trust Marvel with this lady. Anybody who is casting young people based on if they're authentically in line with bedroom preferences. I mean, even if he was 18, okay, let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say that he was cast when he was 18, and they did not interview anyone under 18. Even if that's the case, this woman looks to me to be in her 50s or 60s, and she's going to be in charge of checking 18-year-old boys, whether or not they're authentically.
That word, just authentic.
It's to cover over the moral depravity that's nested inside of it.
Well, but the question is this. When they first interviewed this kid and all the other kids that she said gave auditions, I'm assuming sent in video, and really their agents did.
Right.
Were they told at that point that the role would require some sort of gay activity, and asked were they okay with that? Or did they find out once they got the part? In his case, and why do we assume that just because he's gay, he would want to do something gay on film? I don't know. I think I remember who he is, and the one that looks like he hadn't had a meal or a bath in about a month, right?
Yes.
Dark hair and lots of tattoos. I don't know, shotgun our own partner. But all I'm saying is there's so many questions and issues, and here is the bottom line. If you're making this movie, which is advertising itself, and if you don't think those preview parties where they interview not just her, but the ones we've seen, they're interviewing the actresses and saying, well, we've heard, in fact, I think it's this guy from Variety interviewing, we've heard this is the gayest Disney ever. Is it? And the other girl says, I sure hope so, because that's what I signed up for.
I'll tell you, Lou, I think they took all the goodwill from Deadpool and Wolverine and they buried it 60 feet in the ground. 60 feet.
Well, and putting aside people's choices morally or ethically or sexually or politically, if, we all were young ones. And as a young strapping lad, there used to be drive-ins and there used to be B-picture movies still. And they would show these like women in prison movies made in the Philippines, basically with the excuse of making sure, and even in those days they did this, you had the redhead, the brunette, the blonde, the large-breasted one, the small-breasted one, and they were all sweating in the jungle with very little clothing on. So, it was like if you were a heterosexual male, you wanted to see the quote-unquote lesbian prison picture because that meant there were more naked women in it. It's like, do you only want the centerfold or do you want the whole group of pictorials in that issue of Playboy? So anybody who heard all that and said, yeah, I don't care about the politics. I just want to see the babes, man. Well, if they turned into this to watch something sexually titillating, they were, as the saying goes, screwed.
As I've said, folks, you can make your determinations about what you want to watch. And we think that Agatha all along is devoid of any kind of entertainment, no matter what your proclivities might be. But it's about the kids. This video, we hope that Disney is acting in a moral and ethical, professional manner towards child actors. We have our worries, and so we just thought we'd bring this to the folks out there.
And the worries are because of the past.
Well,
we have seen nothing in the last 10 years to imply that they would care.
And that is the perfect way to end. Folks, it's your turn now. Keep this thing going by clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, we appreciate every single time we have the honor of spending time with you. Thank you for inviting us in to your day.
And if you have a choice between a backyard smoking extravaganza with somebody as talented as Pro behind the grill or watching Agatha, I know you'll know what to do.
All right, Lou. You're right. I'll grill you. I'll grill you another tomahawk. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Well,
All right, folks. Here's wishing you many tomahawk ribeyes in the future. And,
are you culturally appropriating Native Americans with that steak?
If that's what I have to do to eat one of those again, anytime. All right, folks. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having tomahawks. I mean, fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?